I'm always an advocate of the best way to learn is by doing. A good example is learning the guitar or a sport like baseball, football, cricket. You don't learn them by sitting in a lecture, understanding how a guitar works, how it makes noise, or what happens when you swing a bat, or the best way to kick a ball, or the history of football or a sport. You don't study the teams. You learn these hobbies or activities or sports by doing them. And I think the same goes with programming. You don't need a fancy degree or a boot camp or a master's program. They can be helpful. But I think because of the internet, if you have a connection to the internet and a passion to learn, and a drive to learn, and ideas, you can learn programming simply by just making big projects or by doing. Now, why am I making this video? So I've been learning to code for a while now. And I remember I was complaining about my job on social media, and my friend messaged me and they basically said, why don't you do this boot camp / master / degree? Why don't you just do that? Because they're going to do that. They're going to start doing that, I think, next year. They asked, like, why don't you do that boot camp or that course or that degree? That was a good question. I mean, I've been learning programming since 2020, March. That's when we had the first big shutdown. And I haven't really gotten far in terms of a job. I mean, you can't really expect a job after a year or so, 2 years of work. I mean, I've been coding every single day for hours. I think my skills have improved, but certainly I haven't got a job. I'm not working at a big fan company or I'm not working at a big tech company. I'm just got a small contracting job, which I'm proud of. And it made me think about learning to code. Like, do you need a boot camp, degree, master's program? I'm kind of adamant to think that you don't. Now, coming back to my friend who wanted to learn how to code, they're starting the program, I think, later on in a few months or a year, I think. And I said to them, why don't you just learn now? Why don't you just code now? Why don't you just think of a project and do it now? And they said to me, I don't have any ideas or project ideas. And that kind of made me think, because programming gets the attention because it seems to be you get to work from home. It seems like good hours, good pay. But I think those are the wrong reasons to do programming. I think you should do programming because you're purely passionate about it. I know this person could be passionate about it. I don't know. I hope they are. I hope they start learning to code. They enjoy it. But this made me think about, projects, coming up with ideas. It's not easy to come up with a project idea. And that's where I want to take this channel, I think. I've got some videos in the bag about some silly projects that I came up with that anyone can do. And if you see me do it, then you can do it too. Now, what do I think about projects? Well, they can be quite daunting. Like, you don't know how to code. If you're just starting, you won't know what to make. That's a good point. That's a good question. It's a good, sort of situation. That's where you can start with tutorials online. But then as soon as you get that idea, you know what skills you have, then start your project straight away. And I kind of want to share my experience with projects because I find that at the start of a project, it's fun, it's exciting. Like, for example, a Django project. So Django is a web framework in Python. It can be very, very exciting. I mean, you see big changes. I mean, with 3 lines of code, you can get a web server up and running, or like a website kind of up and running. Albeit it's kind of like the Hello World version, but you get one up and running almost straight away. But then months go by, or days go by, or weeks go by, the changes you start to see from, instantly getting a website up to you might be spending a day working on one line of one single change. You could be spending a whole day on that. And that can be quite demoralizing. So you have to realize that with projects, there is a diminished return. It's like the noob gains you get at the gym. You get these big gains at the start, but then after a while, those changes get smaller and smaller and smaller day by day. And it's where you got to look back months or weeks to see those big, huge improvements. Now, it's all in well telling you to not give up on your projects, but I think it comes down to the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'll put all these photos up. I even wrote a blog post about this. If you don't listen to me, I'll link the blog post down below. Now, with the Dunning-Kruger effect, basically at the beginning, you're going to have low competence but very high confidence. Like, wow, I made this web server with these few lines of code. I can do anything. I can cure cancer. But what you'll find is once you've gone past that peak of, it's called Mount Stupid. I'll put the image up so we can all see. You'll enter this zone called the Valley of Despair. Now, the Valley of Despair is where you start to realize that, wow, this is actually harder than I thought. And that's when most people give up. But if you keep going, it's actually a good place to be. It means that you're actually gaining some skill. If you feel like it's too hard, you're actually gaining some skill. Now, this is where I come to my kind of next sort of idea. You might think you're a fraud. It's like imposter syndrome backwards if you start to realize that you're in the valley of despair, but you keep going. Imagine your knowledge is within a circle. And as you gain more knowledge, that circle is going to increase. Now, the perimeter or the edge of the circle, that's what you don't know. That's the unknown. And you can see it as your circle of knowledge grows and grows and grows, the amount you don't know grows even bigger. And that's when you start to realize there's actually more to know. And you start to learn what you don't know. And I think that's the path of mastery. That's how you get better. Now, I want to talk about giving up. So giving up is okay. If you find it's not for you, you don't like it anymore, it's okay to give up. But don't give up just because you're afraid. Now, I want you to believe in yourself. You can do it. It's small incremental improvements over a long period of time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think you can start learning now. Learn by doing. Now, stay focused and talk soon.